Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. It's 11:43 p.m. 11:43 a.m. on the 10th of October 2023. You have to laugh at my befuddled brain. It is quite amusing at times, isn't it? Here's Charlie. Say good morning from sacred space, Charlie. Say good morning to the people. Hello. It's a beautiful day. It's quite hot. I've hit the ground running this morning. I slept in a little bit later, which was good. I need my rest. It was another rough night with the old bladder, but the good news is just waking up for a dream, which is the purpose of this video. I want to record and keep in perpetuity. But just waking up, I'd just woken up from this dream, and I was just literally saying to myself, what the actual fuck was that? Because it was wasn't so much a dream as an actual memory laid out in dream sequences of what actually happened when I was a teenager at university. And I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, just waking up from that, my phone was ringing, my iPhone was ringing, which is unusual because I usually switch it off when I go to sleep at night, trying to minimise the radiation exposure, So I must have left it on last night, which was odd. Anyway, so I'm sort of still coming out of the dream, and I, for a moment, thought I was dreaming that my phone was ringing because of the fact that I normally switch it off. So I had to sort of synapse a little bit and think about it and realise it actually was ringing. But by the time I reached into my bedside drawer where I keep my phone when I go to sleep at night, and reached for my glasses, it had stopped and there was no message. So, and I get quite a few scammy nuisance calls, so usually I don't bother to check, but this is how my intuition is honed, people. I look at the number and I thought, that looks like it had several ones in it, and it just looked like a number that might come from a doctor. I don't know what gave me that idea, but it just looked like an official type phone number. But I was still suspicious that it was a scammer, so I didn't ring it back on my mobile. I got out of bed and I went to my private phone, my private number, and I rang from that just to see if it was a charity or a scammer, and if it was, I was just going to hang up. And it went to the urologist that I've been waiting for an appointment for a few weeks. So that threw me for a loop. So when the young lady answered the phone and said it was the Mater Hospital, the urologist, not the Mater Hospital, the private clinic, I said to her, did you just ring Tanya Aarons and not leave a message? And she said, oh no, I left a message, I left a voice to text. And I said, that's very strange because no message came through, but I just thought I would check and see who rang. Isn't that lucky? Very, very fucking lucky, because my usual modus operandi is, as I said, I get so many scam calls, is if I get a strange number, I just ignore it and I don't ring it back and I don't bother. I just think, it's just some idiot wasting my time. So my intuition was on point to get me to follow through, call back the number, find out who was calling me, and then discover that the secretary had, she claimed she left a voice to text. I don't know what's wrong with my Optus account or my iPhone that I'm not getting these messages, because I've had this fight before in the past. Some years ago I was fighting with Shine lawyers who they actually didn't leave messages, they lied. So there was a massive fight about that, because of what kind of admin professional, secretary or personal assistant or even receptionist doesn't know to leave a message, right? In their case, they really were being slack. But this young lady says she left a message, and I believe her. She's got no reason to lie. So it was a bit odd that the message didn't come through. So anyway, no harm, no foul. My angels were protecting me because they know how important it is that I see this specialist, given how poorly my health is. And an appointment's been made for late November, and I will go to that, and I just hope against hope that it's not a very bad prognosis. I somehow don't think it will be, that I'm dying, even though I have felt like I've been dying for months, years really, but I don't think it's that, because I seem to be, my bladder's shot to pieces during the night. I'm up at least twice a night, but I seem to be settling down a bit. It wasn't as severe as it was a couple of weeks ago, so I'm praying that my own body, mind and spirit does its usual fight and raises myself up from death's door yet again. But it remains to be seen. The young lass was concerned about how I was going to go, if I needed further treatment, how that was going to be paid. So I just said that I presume I would be referred to the public sector if I need ongoing treatment. So that's also a worry, but honestly, we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. And at the moment, we're just wanting, my psychiatrist and I, just wanting to get an opinion on the state of my bladder and if it's hopeless or if it can be repaired, or some treatment offered, and I just have to hope for the best. But anyway, so there is that. Now, I return to the reason why I made this video, my dream. Don't mind my scaly skin, because of my gallbladder is lacking. Every now and then I have these massive breakouts because my liver can't, the bile doesn't get processed, and I have these massive breakouts, and then I get these massive pimples, and then I just, So I look a mess, darlings. I look a mess. Don't mind me. All beautiful and resplendent in my shitty health, but it's nothing new under the sun. Been living like this for years now. Anyway, I digress. My dream this morning that I was awoken from by that phone call was very interesting, as I say, because it was a realistic portrayal of what actually happened. So it's probably triggered, the memory of that is probably triggered because of the news of the outbreak of war in Israel. So when I was in university, I went to university very early. I started there in 1982, when I was not yet 17 years old. I was 16 going on 17, because the university started, I think it was in March, and my birthday's in April. So I was literally still on the tail end of 16 years of age. I had matriculated, at the end of that year, the previous year, and so I had applied to study law at university. So my first year at university, I was quite a bit a fish out of water because I was so young, 17 from April on, and I was not really understanding the law subjects, and I was floundering a fair bit with that. And there was also a bit of malfeasance because I was having difficulty accessing textbooks because all the other students were getting them first. And I don't know what that was about. I guess it was a form of systemic abuse, because how are you supposed to study a subject if you can't get access at the library to the actual textbooks? And, you know, me being a trauma survivor, probably very likely I just went, oh well, I'll make it up as I go along, which I kind of did, which was why I was failing hopelessly. You kind of have to laugh. But, you know, I was a teenager and I was doing my best. I was showing up to all the lectures and all the tutorials and taking it all very seriously and making the best of whatever information I was gleaning from lectures, and struggling. I was struggling. However, I was doing very well. I was also studying that first year of university, 1982. I was studying modern literature, which I loved, and French. So I passed those subjects. In the second year, 1983, I was 18 when I was at university, 17 going on 18. I actually dropped out halfway through that year in June or July, because I couldn't endure the rape threats and the filth written on the university toilet doors about me, because what had happened that year was the also coincided with the Israel-Lebanon war. And I had been kind of groomed and manipulated in a way, let's be honest here, because I was a teenager. I had joined the Friends of Israel group at Victoria University of Wellington because I wanted to convert to Judaism. So I thought, I joined quite a few clubs that year actually, because I realised my first year at uni at varsity, we call it in New Zealand, I was very isolated and in overwhelm and hadn't made any friends, and felt very isolated and depressed and unwell most of the time, not realising that that's my normal state with complex PTSD. But as a teenager, it's like it was hard to cope and hard to deal with. So I joined this Friends of Israel group, and then somehow, I can't remember exactly how, I was kind of groomed, and it was suggested that I get involved in student politics with the student union. I didn't know anything about politics. In fact, I was mocked and derided at the student union election for turning up in a two-piece tweed suit that I had, which looked very elegant and beautiful and way beyond my years at 17. And, nice stockings and nice shoes. And I was not used to public speaking. So I stood up on that podium and my knees knocked together with absolute nerves and fear. And, every man and his dog was there in the audience. It was professors and students and radical left-wing, radicals, and I was in the moderate party because I still consider myself neither left nor right, but sort of down the middle a bit. I like to be fair-minded about things. I like to see both sides of an argument. I like to be, I guess a centrist, or I don't really have political leanings, anymore. I used to be staunch Labour Party supporter and always voted Labour Party, brainwashed by my mother actually. But after the last few years, they will never get my vote again. I'm thoroughly disgusted with how draconian and tyrannical and evil they became very quickly overnight. Certainly do not represent the traditional mores and ethos and ideologies of the Labour Party. Anyway, so here I was 17, not knowing anything really about politics, up on this podium, being heckled and made fun of because in my introduction that I posted that my hobbies were horse riding, because I had a horse, and, swimming and, harmless kind of stuff, just giving them a background description of who I am, which I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. That And then there were filthy hecklers in the audience making fun about me riding horses and turning it into a sexual dirty thing. And I just stood and stared at them in horror, you know. It's like they really were filthy. Anyway, I still remember to this day the radical right-wing lesbian feminist that was representing the left-wing party that was, you know, hoping to get elected alongside of us. She was so disgusted at the way I was being taunted and heckled and maltreated that she actually defended me. Power to the sisterhood. I'm so proud of that woman to this day. I don't remember her name, but she did a very decent and honourable thing. Even though I was her political opponent, running for the moderate party for the student union, she defended me against these filthy, disgusting male students. It wasn't just the students that were leering at me either, by the way. And I looked perfectly respectable. You know, the suit was beautiful, I had a beautiful blouse. There was nothing sexual about what I was wearing at all. Anyway, probably hoping to intimidate me because I was a kid, right? That's the reality. At 17, I was just a little young kid at university, punching above my weight and not actually really coping. And they knew that. And it was nasty what was done to me. So this young woman who was older than me, probably in her early 20s or, probably early 20s, late teens, early 20-something. She defended me and told them that they were disgusting and how dare they and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, thank you to that woman who was decent and honourable and had integrity. But partly because of that, I think, and partly because the university population was a bit sick of the left-wingers with their radical ideas, we got voted in. We actually, you know, we became the student union. So the dream reminded me in minute detail, which was actually quite alarming to my mind because my dreams aren't usually full-blown memories. Actually showed me sitting at the board meeting of one of our meetings where, and this is true, this is factual, people, I had been instructed, I can't remember by whom, if it was the president of our student union, because I had said I would support them 100% with them in all naivete, not realising that I was going to be put to the test on that. Hello, my darling. And so we had been privately told, I had been privately told that I had to vote a certain way. I can't remember what the issue was about, but I think it was something to do with the Israel-Lebanon war, something they wanted us to ratify or, you know, I can't remember what the actual thing was, but it didn't sit well with me that I was told privately on how to vote. Because if anyone knows me, I've just had a random message from Molchaks who I would never give my business to again because they were violators, so no. But anyway, that's amusing, isn't it? In the middle of my video. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yes, so anyone who knows me knows that I do not like to be told how to do anything. If someone comes along and says you have to vote yes to this or no to that, I immediately think to myself, who are they and what's their agenda? Even if it's for my highest good, I will still question it, and I'll usually go away and do some serious thinking about it, or research it, or follow my intuition. Most times I just go on my merest intuition. It's just the way I am as a spiritual person. I've been like that since childhood, people. It's part of my trauma. response. Dislike authoritarian figures and bullies. So the dream was showing me literally, and it was a memory. I was sitting at this table exactly where I was sitting in real life in the past. And we're talking, I'm 58 years old now, so that's 41 years ago. It was a profound memory dredged up from my subconscious. So even in a dream, I'm sitting there going, why am I having this memory of this particular board meeting that's like from so long ago, and how is that relevant to what's going on with me today? Probably isn't, but it's pause for me to think what's going on with my brain and what am I being told to question and to maintain my integrity on, right? Charlie, you want to go in the tree, don't you? All right, well, up you go. She's telling me she wants to go in the tree. Up you go. Up. Good girl. It's hot up there. Don't be up there too long, Charlie. She's happy now. She's a very happy birdie now. So the dream shows me the person taking me aside, telling me how to vote, and that it was very important that I aligned with the party line on this issue. And I said to them, oh yes, okay. And they said there will be a speaker coming, and basically not to take any notice of what they have to say, because we've already decided how we will vote, which I did not like. Okay. So I said, okay, yep, that's fine. And I thought, are they treating me like I'm some kind of moron or child? Which I really was a child, 17 years old. I think by then I might have been just turned 18. So, they think I'm a child or some kind of moron. And it didn't faze me too much, because compared to the others, they were all at least 3 to 4 years older than me, and extremely intelligent, because we were at university, and I was a bit in awe of them all. So I was quite happy to take a bit of mentoring where mentoring was required. So that was fine. So the dream shows me, then moves to the scenario of us all sitting around this board table at the University Chancellor building. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think the Chancellor was there. Anyway, this man came in, I can't remember his name after all these years, but I believe he was Palestinian. Anyway, and he came and he told us about the situation that's going on at that time, 1983, and gave a very impassioned, heartfelt, I thought, even though I was young, I thought a quite authentic explanation of the situation at that time, and begged us to support, begged us to consider his people and to vote accordingly, to vote, in a fair way, which I thought again was reasonable. So I went against the grain, and I did not vote how they wanted me to vote. I voted how my conscience decreed to vote. And don't get me wrong, I was pro-Israel all the way down the line, and anything to do with Israel, I voted for Israel. But something just didn't sit right with us being told how to vote, and then having this man come with his impassioned plea, which was heartfelt and genuine, and not at all manipulative. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was that issue. There were a few issues they tried to strong-arm me on, and I would just vote according to my conscience, because I felt that I had a humanistic right to vote according to my conscience and not just follow the party line. If something didn't seem right, you know, it's not right. End of. So anyway, I remember afterwards them being very angry with me, the other student union members, being very angry with me that I voted contrary to how they wanted me to vote. And I just shrugged. I said, it's a matter of honour and integrity. And I could see that this person was genuine, and what they said made practical, sound sense. And I won't be bullied into how to vote on things. So round about that time, or after that time, I started getting rape threats, being followed down to the bus, which was a long walk down a very, well, it was a shortcut down, but it was a very, there was lots of bush and it was dark. It was actually quite scary to walk on your own as a woman. So I would get followed down by a fellow Jewish student who actually threatened to rape me. So my response to him was, oh, would you like me to tell the rabbi? And sort of made a joke of it. And anyway, luckily, he didn't rape me or assault me in any way. And was so freaked out that I threatened him with telling his rabbi about his treatment of me that he took off like a long dog, didn't he? But anyway, so the escalation of threat increased. There were things written about me on toilet doors that were utterly disgusting and completely untrue given at that time. Although I'm a sexual abuse survivor from, decades of rape threats and molestation in my own family of origin, technically I hadn't, technically I was still a virgin. I hadn't been penetrated, to put it that way. So these filthy things that were said about me were so abhorrent and so distressing that, and also concurrent to that, I was spending far too much time with student union activities and not enough time on my law subjects. And it was the second year, and I'd had to beg to repeat that year because I failed so miserably the first year. And so it was a matter of honour, that I'd begged with the professor to let me repeat those subjects. And so for me it was a matter of honour that I felt a complete failure, that I was failing law again. And also I was passing my religious studies subjects, and I was really proud and happy about that. And I was passing, I think I was doing second year French, and I was passing that, and I was doing fine with that. But I just felt overwhelmed, and I felt betrayed, and I felt sullied and besmirched by the university administration, the student union itself, my fellow political members. I felt betrayed on multifarious other levels, being set up by a friend at that time who had gossiped about me to someone else, and that had got thrown up at the actual election as well. That was hurtful. And so there were all these things that had gone on, and I was sort of thinking, how do I actually fit into this world? Well, I didn't, did I? As a woman, as a young Jewish woman on the cusp of her conversion, as a student, I wasn't fitting in at all in the broad scheme of things. That and the, still living at home, and the constant emotional abuse from my mother. So I decided that I would quit university, and I dropped out, which was a great mistake on my part. I would have at least come away with a BA in religious studies or in literature or something like that. I could have just given up on the law subject, since it clearly wasn't my bag, and focused on other subjects that I enjoyed. But anyway, it is what it is. But that dream was so clear. Even the faces of the people, faces I haven't seen in 41 years, sitting around that board table looking at me, kind of seething with rage that I wouldn't cow down to their agenda, that I wouldn't be bullied, and that I was maintaining my own rights as a young adult. At 18 you're legally allowed to vote, people. I was exercising my right to vote according to my conscience and my integrity and my honour. So having that dream this morning was quite disturbing, because it wasn't a nonsensical dream. It was a blow-by-blow memory of what actually happened that led to me being basically forced out of university by threats. Because that's what it really was, people. I blame myself. I'm not smart enough, and I'm not mature enough, and it was none of those things. I was perfectly mature enough. I was handling my own shit and voting accordingly. It wasn't that. It was complete systemic bullying on an epic scale. So, and being patronised and condescended to because of my age, my youth, and being groomed into, they did things like there was a big party, like a rock party where they had like rock stars appear, not famous rock stars, but they had a band appear, and I went to that dressed to the nines too, 18 years of age, looking fab. And again, because I hadn't followed the party line, they set me up there, leaving me with no way of getting home. They'd promised that they would, make sure I got home safely, and get me, I think they were going to give me a taxi chit or something. The kind fucked off without giving me that. So I was stuck there at, 2 o'clock in the morning. The party was over, everyone had left, and I was basically stuck with no way to get home. And I remember thinking, oh well, I'll just have to curl up and sleep here somewhere for the night, because it wasn't safe to try and get home at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was getting myself a bit distressed about it, but then I thought, oh well, they've set me up yet again. And just as I was deciding that I was going to have to find somewhere quiet to curl up for the night, within the university rooms, a man came forward, very nice man, much older than me, who happened to be Welsh. And I'm not sure, he must have been one of the security personnel that had been there for the night. I'm not sure in what capacity he was there, but he asked me, he said, how are you getting home, love? And I said, they've all left without giving me my taxi chit. I said, there's no way I can get home. Oh, he said, where do you live? And I said, I'm in Island Bay, which was about 15-20 minute drive from the university. So 20, maybe more than that, maybe 20-25 minute drive. Anyway, he said, well, it's out of my way. He said, but I can't have you try, I said, oh no, I'll just sleep here. He said, no, I can't have that. He said, it's a matter of honour. You can't have a young girl left here after a party, And I wasn't drunk, because I even as a young girl, I made sure I didn't get drunk when I went out to functions. Always been that way, keeping myself safe, right? So he said, I will give you a lift home. And I was very wary, because I didn't know this man, and as I say, he was much older. No, perfect gentleman, drove me all the way to my front door, to my parents' house, and sat and chatted to me, didn't lay a hand on me, it was perfectly lovely. And he said if he was 30 years younger, he would have asked me out. And I said, oh, well, if I was 30 years older, I probably would have asked you out too. He was a nice man, genuinely sweet man. And nice looking, actually, for a 40, well, if he was 30 years older, he would have been about 47, 48. Nice gentleman. Actually, he was one of the few decent gentlemen I met, apart from my lecturers and, few fellow students. He was one of the few decent gentlemen I met when I was at university. This is 1983, people, so that's a sad indictment on New Zealand society of the 1% academic people in those days. Anyway, he before I got out of the car, I said to him, say something to me in Welsh and Gaelic. So he said something to me, of course I didn't understand it. I said, what does that mean? He said, oh, you're a very beautiful girl. I said, oh, thank you so much. And I waved him goodbye. And I went into my family home, the House of Horror. And that was the end of that evening. But anyway, somewhere along the lines, having been set up yet again and left for, they were hoping that I'd be stranded, right? And that I'd be all traumatised, not knowing, as often happens in my life, that an angel came along, an earth angel, and rescued me and took me home. That's happened not once, but several times in my life when evil, nasty, vicious people have tried to leave me high and dry and put me in a position of vulnerability and danger, that someone would randomly come along and go, what's going on here, and would assist me. So I'm not sure why I was shown that memory of that board table and those fellow student union members. And like I said at the beginning, it's probably triggered by the fact that Israel and Palestine are at war again, and it's horrific. And my heart goes out to, Israel, but also to the Palestinian civilians who, are also suffering right now. It's like, this bullshit has to stop, doesn't it? But I said that back in 1983, and here we are all these decades later, nothing's changed. Not one thing. And it's kind of even more heinous coming on the back of the COVID epoch, the COVID regime that had everyone terrorised. I mean, we've had no respite, have we, from horror in the last 4 years. The Ukrainian and the Russian war, the COVID, it's just constant rolling attack, like a rolling spike protein, attaching wherever it can, dragging us all down with it. Not just the spike, but the evil and the malevolence that's going on in our world. On a happy note, look at this little girl. What are you doing, Charlie? I don't think you should be chewing those. So, yes, so just finishing off that dream about me sitting at that board table and voting and having them all glaring at me because I went against their grooming and decision making for me, and on what is the humanitarian and the righteous thing to do, which is, no matter what, do the right thing, people, even if it creates enemies for you. Always do the right thing, and it's cost me dear. It cost me a university degree, cost me careers, it cost me relationships, it cost me my children, it cost me everything. But when I die, when my time finally comes, I can take pride and honour that I always strove to do the right thing for the greater good of not just myself, but all humanity, which is why I've been so vocal against the COVID epoch malfeasances, and before that, child sexual abuse, because as a survivor, these are things that I think are important to fight for. The safety and, the rights of other human beings to live in peace and harmony. So that's my video. I'm not sure what that dream actually meant, but it's very interesting that only moments after waking up from that dream, I received the phone call for the urologist. So that's good, and I'll go ahead with that appointment, and at least by the end of November I'll know if I'm dying or not for sure, or if there's still hope for me to recover and eke a few more years out of my existence. Why not? I seem to like life. I seem to really cleave to it, even when it's been often untenable and unsupportive and unproductive and unloving and unkind. I keep punching my fists through the membrane between life and death, and yet again choosing life. It's a hobby, people. It's also my powerful life force, which has an indomitable will, and I'm not ready to cede this body yet, even though I'm tired and exhausted and drained and up all night and feel lonely and isolated and could do with a loving partner that supports me. But as I said in my video yesterday, I can't lie in bed next to a man while I burp all night with reflux and get up to pee all night. That's just not happening in a far out way. So I'm accepting my situation and loving what's left of my life anyway, and putting faith as always in the gods. So goodbye for now from sacred space, and have a beautiful day, people. And remember, never ever let the bastards grind you down. Not even the memories of bastards from 41 years ago. Never ever quit, never ever cede, never ever yield. Be like a willow tree, bend but don't break. Hold the line, keep smiling, and let your true beloveds come find you when they're ready, with positive, heartfelt, genuine intentions, because I will accept nothing less. Bye for now.